right, so it's just some general info. The first thing, which I think is the most important, is in terms of thinking about what you want in your newsletter. This needs to be content that doesn't overlap too much with content you have elsewhere online. Because again, if someone is choosing to get this newsletter, they want something else. They want like an inside scoop sort of thing. So you want to stay true to that, to their expectations, but also if someone sees the same information across multiple platforms, it still can feel kind of bombarding. Even if you're sending only one out a month, it can still feel like too much information to them. So make sure that whatever you have in the newsletter is different from what you have out in other places. Shorter is better. I'm going to say 4 to 5 paragraphs maximum. It could be shorter than that for the actual written content. Now you might have a list in your newsletter as well, in addition to those 4 or 5 paragraphs, and that's okay. We'll see several examples here in a minute. But I think as far as the written text, 4 to 5 paragraphs maximum. And you will see longer ones out there, but I think, you know, this is a good length for what people are willing to read in an email. Whatever you choose, whatever length you choose, you need to make sure that you're choosing something that you can do consistently. So make sure you're not biting off more than you can chew, and also make sure that you don't choose too short of a length. Maybe you really like writing and you have chosen topics that you could write pretty, at length about. Make sure that, maybe choose that 5 paragraph model rather than the 1 paragraph model if you know that there's a lot of things that you want to cover in your newsletter. Now, if you are a big writer and you're very wordy, keep in mind that you can always link it from your newsletter to other places online. And actually, links are wonderful to have in newsletters. The more links, maybe not the more links, but you need to have at least links to your homepage and your about page and any like marketing or like sales pages that you have within your newsletter. And I'll mention this again later because that is going to increase the engagement of your newsletter. But yeah, you can link to your website. You can link to a blog if you have one. You can also create, if you don't have a blog, you can create a newsletter archive, which I've linked several examples in the handout, but you can create a newsletter archive on your website and maybe do, sort of extended like the full version in the archive, but an abbreviated version in the email. So it's just not too much text within the body of the email. And then the final thing to say is that, the studies have shown that sending short newsletters like this on a regular basis improves the effectiveness over long emails sent irregularly. So sending out little bite-sized things on a schedule is the best thing you can do. On that note, the last line of this slide is something that I want to stress, because you need the most important thing is to send it out on a regular basis, which means you don't have to wait until you have something to report in order to be justified in sending out a newsletter. So you don't have to have big news to send out a newsletter. In fact, you can talk about a lot of different things, and I'll give you lots of ideas when we're talking through the outline, but make sure you're sending it out regardless if you have a big event coming up or not. All right, so what kind of content should you have in your newsletter? Well, most things that you're going to read out there in terms of the research is they recommend having a balance of business and general interest or personal information. So business or art and non-art. But when I've gone through and looked at a ton of newsletters from artists, I do find that a lot of people do balance the personal and business, but a lot of people also have mostly business related newsletters. And I'll show you examples of both. But the caveat, if you do want like a mostly art related newsletter, it still needs to be incredibly friendly and personal, work like you're writing to a friend, a close friend, or talking on the phone to a close friend even. So keep it interesting, keep it funny, integrate some jokes in there, even if you're just updating about something that's coming up or something that you're working on and not something personal. All right, here's some random tips. These don't really belong on a slide together, but I didn't have anywhere else to put them before we jump into the outline. The first is make sure you address the reader by name. And this can be accomplished through the use of merge tags through your platform. So that they'll make it easy for you, and they will recommend that. So you're not going to miss out on including someone's first name in the salutation line. Make sure you include links. I already said that, but to your homepage, your gallery, your about page, your sales pages, whatever you need to link. And again, we'll see some examples of how this can be done well. In terms of tone, already mentioned this as well, but keep it light, keep it like you're talking to a friend, and also include like a grateful tone where appropriate. And I'll show you this, an example of this as well. Because this is your fans, right? You want to show gratitude to them where it feels natural. Now, if they open your email, which we'll talk about how to encourage them to open it momentarily, but you only actually have 3 seconds to capture their attention before they delete it or archive it or close out of it. So in terms of thinking through the outline, we need to make sure that the content that comes at the beginning of the email is enticing enough to capture their attention and to get them to keep reading.